They say Dubai property only goes up, but right now, there are communities where rents are stalling and investors who bought a few years ago are just hoping to break even. And these are the same areas being pushed hardest to international investors. My job is basically saying no to 90% of what the market pushes so my clients don't end up stuck. So in this video, I'll show you the specific types of Dubai areas you should not buy in 2026, and I'll give you a simple framework to filter out bad deals even if you're not in Dubai. Now, before we get into specific areas, I need to give you the lens we use while evaluating any Dubai location. What most people get wrong is that most international investors assume anything in Dubai is safe and focus only on price and payment plans, not on the area's fundamentals, such as the supply pipeline, infrastructure, and real end user demand. Now, what happens is, I'll give you an example. A lot of times, brokers try to sell certain areas by saying this is going to come over here, this is going to happen, there's a metro coming. But you have to understand one thing. Whenever you hear such things, you need to verify it whether these are just plans or has the government actually started work on this. If the government has actually started work, that means yes, it's 100% coming. But if it's just a proposed plan or a vision, that means it's not yet 100% certain that this will happen, and you really need to fact check this. A lot of people buy in thinking this is going to happen and their property prices will go up, only to realize a few years later that didn't really go through. Now, here's what you need to understand. Dubai is not a single market. It's a collection of micro markets. Some areas are anchored by established employment hubs, schools, hospitals, and transport systems. Others are primarily driven by speculative off-plan launches and short-term investor sentiment. In 2026, the risk sits in areas where a large volume of new supply is scheduled for completion. Within a short window, there's limited existing infrastructure and lifestyle stickiness for real end users. Pricing has already run ahead of comparable established communities. When that combination hits, investors get stuck with units that look great in brochures but struggle in the real world. Now that you have that framework, let's get into the specific types of areas that are the highest risk heading into 2026. Point number one, the Peripheral's future city mega projects. What most people get wrong is that they chase future cities in the desert based on master plan renderings and easy payment plans, assuming everything promised will be delivered on time. Now, let me explain you something. Whenever you see a master plan, first understand who the master plan is shown by. If it's a government developer such as Emaar, Dubai Holdings, Nakheel, Expo City, these are government-backed developers, and when they show a master plan, they actually do it. Even with government-backed developers, you need to understand the timeline of things, that when is what getting ready. Just if you look at a master plan by any developer and you feel, oh, it's a master community, this is going to happen, that is going to happen, just don't rely on it. Make sure you understand it correctly. Now, large peripheral master communities can be good long-term plays, but the risk profile is very different from buying in a mature area. For an investor targeting 2026, the danger is that handover happens before the area is livable. End user demand is weak because families prefer established communities. Any global or local slowdown can delay further phases. And infrastructure, in that window, your ability to rent or resale at a profit can be seriously limited. You're basically financing the developer's vision without guaranteed timing on full community maturity. Now, here's what my advice is. Check what's open today within the 10-15 minute radius of that community. Ask for phasing plans and delivery track record. Compare prices to established areas closer to city hubs. If you're paying near established prices for future promises, avoid for 2026. A classic example is of Expo City. I have been selling Expo City since their first launch. But the day the first residential project was launched, the infrastructure around it, the metro was already there. We knew that the World Trade Center is going to be opening at a certain date. Now, when you go in with this kind of a plan, this kind of a future promise, this is a solid one because it's government backed. But there are a lot of examples where people were sold in communities saying this will happen, that will happen, but it's still not happened. Beyond peripheral mega projects, there's another trap that catches investors drawn to luxury labels and big brand names. I've spent a lot of time researching and analyzing the Dubai market, and I want to make this easier for you. I've put together the 2026 Investor Strategy Kit, where I break down the current Dubai cycle and the exact questions you should ask before transferring a single dirham. If you want a clear data-backed game plan, instead of guessing your way through, hit the link below and download the 2026 Investor Strategy Kit. Now, this gets me to point number 2, luxury branded residence in non-prime locations. Most people assume that anything labeled luxury or branded is automatically a good investment, even when that branding is in a secondary location. Now, let me explain you something. When you talk about luxury and branded residences in areas such as downtown, Palm Jumeirah, La Mer, prime areas, I totally get it. But when you talk about a luxury branded residences in areas such as, let's say, a Dubai South or a JVC, that's where the problem comes. There are some good developers who are doing branded residences there, but they are not really positioning or pricing it above the market to sell you branded. They are actually giving you value. But majority of them, they are pricing it higher, calling it luxury branded residence and charging you a premium. And that's where the problem is. True luxury in Dubai is defined by prime location relative to coastline, downtown, or core employment hubs such as Business Bay, scarcity of comparable product, depth of global demand at higher price points. When a branded project launches in a non-prime area, the risk is that you pay a premium for the name, but the area itself has a very average tenant profile and budget, weaker resale demand, limited upside beyond what the broader area can support. This can compress your rental yields and slow capital appreciation compared with investing the same money in a non-branded, better located building. So here's my advice. Ignore the brand name. Is the location truly prime? Compare the price per square foot to recognize prime districts. Look at who actually rents there. If it's only luxury because of marketing, avoid it as a core 2026 investment. Now, let's look at something that quietly drains returns and often gets overlooked, the building itself. Now, this gets me to point number 3. Older or poorly maintained buildings with high friction costs. What most people get wrong is they ignore liquidity and cost structure, focusing only on headline yield, and end up in buildings with high service charges and shallow buyer pool. In Dubai, not all buildings in the same area perform equally. High service charges, poor management, and dated facilities can push serious tenants and buyers towards better maintained alternatives nearby. That means your pool of potential tenants is smaller, your net yield after expenses is lower, your exit options in 2026 are even more limited. Even if the wider area is strong, a weak building within that area can behave like a bad area for your capital. Let me explain you this a little more in detail. An area like downtown has multiple buildings, some buildings which are probably 15 years old and some buildings which are probably 2-3 years or 5 years old. Now, what you need to really understand is there's a massive price difference when you go to see these buildings. If there is a 10 or 20% difference, I can understand it's slightly old. But this shows you that the newer buildings are selling at a much higher price than the older ones. This clearly proves that the demand for the newer ones is way higher than the older buildings. Now, here's my advice. Anytime you're looking at a property, check the service charges, compare it with similar projects. Get the videos of common areas, look for the underinvestment. Ask for how quickly comparable units are renting or selling. High charges plus neglect and slow activity means avoid these kind of properties no matter how good they seem. There's one more category that's especially dangerous, and it looks the most exciting on surface, which gets me to point number 4. Hyper-flipped investor corridors. What most people get wrong is they confuse high transaction volume and social media buzz with healthy demand, which in reality, much of the activity is short-term flipping between investors. Some pockets became flippers' hotspot, with units changing hands multiple times off plan. At handover, investors rush to sell or rent at once, pushing the prices down. Late-stage buyers get stuck. Areas dominated by investor-to-investor trading can be volatile. They look exciting during a bull run, but they often lack deep end-user demand, willing to live there at scale, stable long-term tenants, real lifestyle infrastructure. If the global environment cools or financing tightens, these areas can see sharper corrections and longer vacancy periods than more balanced communities. So here's my advice. Ask what percentage of buyers are investors versus end users. Look at rental listing volumes versus completed stock. Check resales at or below launch prices. If it's mostly investors trading with one another, avoid it as a part of core strategy. Now, it's one thing to understand this framework. It's another thing entirely to apply it to your specific situation. If you're looking at Dubai seriously and want someone to walk you through which areas make sense for your specific budget and goals, I offer a one-on-one advisory service where we map out your situation and build a clear roadmap for Dubai. Use the link below to book a call. Now you know which types of areas to avoid, but where should you actually buy? In the next video, I'll walk you through exactly how I would approach Dubai if I was starting fresh in 2026, which segments I'd target, and how I would structure entries and exits. I'll see you there.